This map shows a snack empire that spans 37 different countries, generating a staggering $2 billion in revenue every single year. But if you trace that massive financial footprint all the way back to the beginning, you don't find a sterile corporate test kitchen. You find a pile of stale tortillas rotting in a garbage can at Disneyland. In 1955, the Frito Company opened Casa de Fritos, a Tex-Mex restaurant right inside the newly built theme park. It was incredibly popular, but it had a persistent operational flaw. The kitchen ended up tossing out massive amounts of unused tortillas at the end of every single day. The fix came from an outside delivery salesman. Noticing the daily waste, he gave the kitchen staff a tip. Instead of throwing the scraps away, cut them up, fry them, and cover them in a custom blend of spices. The cooks followed his advice. Customers loved the crispy, seasoned leftovers so much that the restaurant quietly added them to the menu as a regular item. Meanwhile, Frito corporate headquarters had absolutely no idea this new snack even existed. The foundation of a multi-billion-dollar product wasn't planned. It happened entirely because frontline workers saw the hidden, unexploited value in the materials everyone else was perfectly fine discarding. The secret remained isolated at the park until a marketing executive named Arch West took his family on vacation. He stopped by Casa de Fritos, noticed customers eating these recycled chips, and instantly recognized a highly scalable idea. To get the product off the ground, West had to leave California and take the concept back to Frito-Lay headquarters in Dallas, Texas. He was a New York transplant operating inside a highly rigid, established corporate culture. He eagerly pitched the idea of packaging and selling the restaurant's tortilla chips nationally. The executives flatly rejected him. This chart illustrates their primary concern. The board already had a massively successful, dominant corn chip called Fritos. They believed this red bar, a brand new tortilla chip, would simply cannibalize their existing customer base without actually growing the company's total revenue. Institutional fear of disrupting a profitable status quo won the argument. The executives issued a strict, crystal-clear directive: abort the tortilla chip project immediately. West completely ignored them. He covertly funneled corporate money to an off-site facility and continued developing the prototype in secret. He needed a catchy name for his illicit snack. Noting the chip's golden hue, he combined the Spanish word for gold, oro, added the diminutive suffix ito, and slapped a D on the front. He simply called them Doritos, little golden things. With the product refined, West shipped his first batch to Southern California to test the waters, focusing his rogue launch in the San Diego market. The initial batch of chips sold incredibly well. Armed with this undeniable proof, West walked back into the boardroom and essentially ambushed the executives with the raw sales data. The numbers were too good to ignore, forcing the board to greenlight the project and officially birthed the Doritos brand in 1964. In a risk-averse bureaucracy, subjective opinions rarely win arguments. Rogue, undeniable proof-of-concept data is often the only weapon capable of breaking through an executive blockade. But when Frito-Lay rolled Doritos out nationally in 1966, momentum suddenly stalled. West hit a massive cultural barrier once the product left the American Southwest. He ran into a classic user error problem. The original chips were completely plain. Consumers in the Southwest knew they were supposed to dip them in salsa, but mainstream Americans in the rest of the country had no idea what to do with a dry, unflavored triangle. To them, the product tasted completely bland. This timeline plots initial sales. Instead of relying on customers for dip, West applied toasted corn in 1966 and taco in 1967, creating modest bumps. But watch 1972. Frito-Lay invented nacho cheese, perfectly calibrating the snack for the mainstream palate and sparking a massive exponential climb. A mechanically great product will routinely fail if the target audience doesn't intuitively understand how to use it. Commercial innovation requires translating an invention culturally, completely bridging the gap between what you made and what the consumer actually wants to taste. Over the decades, that initial application of flavor technology compounded. It allowed Frito-Lay to localize the chip for global markets by engineering over 100 hyper-specific, wacky variations, from ranch-dipped chicken wings to late-night cheeseburger. What Arch West pulled off is a textbook example of entrepreneurship, the practice of acting like an independent, risk-taking entrepreneur while working entirely inside a large corporate organization. Building an empire requires looking at the things other people consider garbage, whether that's literal restaurant scraps or a rejected boardroom pitch, and having the audacity to champion them, even when your bosses tell you to stop. West eventually retired as vice president of marketing, but he maintained a lifelong obsession with his little golden things. He continued testing new flavors until his death in 2011, at the age of 97. He left his family with one final, very specific request for his funeral service. He wanted them to toss Doritos directly into his grave before he was buried. They happily obliged, but they specifically chose to toss the original, plain-flavored chips. As his daughter pointed out, they didn't want the mourners walking away with nacho cheese dust all over their hands. It's an incredibly fitting send-off, a resting place for an executive who refused to back down and took his multi-billion-dollar corporate rebellion all the way to the grave.